Hey there, guys. The Season 2 Digest came out on the Japanese server, and these Story Digest events, it's actually a permanent event, are super lucrative. They give like 5,000 Lapis, 100 STMR tickets, 10 UOC tickets, 44 max level Cactuars, 500% in Trust Moguls. It's insane how much they give. But some of the fixed party battles are a little bit tricky to do, and I'm going to be showing you some tips on how to do them. So to get there, we're going to go to the third tab in the Vortex and choose the Story Digest at the top. Now the Season 1 one is pretty easy. It doesn't really need a guide. You just watch the cutscenes and follow along the prompts, which is like chain every turn, cap every turn, that kind of stuff. You don't really need much of a guide for that. But we're going to go to the Season 2 one. And the Season 2 one is more of the same, just follow along, really basic. So I'm not going to show all these fights, obviously, but we're going to start showing some tips on the one that takes place after cutscene number 17. So the battle after cutscene number 17 is a little bit trickier to do. Itsuki actually figured this one out and told me an easy way to do it. I'm going to be showing all of you now. So the missions are just bring the fixed party team, you can't change that, no continues, and beat it in 3 turns or less. So the 3-turn thing is the tricky part because, we'll show you in a second. Alright, so it's against Nicole and Sakura, and the easy way we're going to do this is on turn 1, we're going to use Lastwell's cooldown and the cooldown on Tetraphysalis. Physalis, whatever. Actually, that's regular Physalis, not Tetra. Anyway, so the enemies are going to buff up. So we're going to use Lastwell to use Bushido Freedom, which AoE dispels them. But you see Nicole's got this mitigation buff, so he can't be really hurt on this turn. So we're going to use Physalis to quad cast. We're going to cast her Power Up first, double cast her Break, and then we're going to finish it with her Ice Attack. So we're going to start targeting Nicole, we're going to start Physalis, and we're going to change targets after the second cast. So we're going to let her cast, second time, we change targets, and then we let her go. So that's going to power her up, it breaks Nicole, we change targets, it also breaks Sakura, and then it finishes off Sakura. Now Nicole does a few weak attacks, doesn't really matter. But because he's now broken, and we can now chain with our 2 DPS, we're going to chain with Group 1 and Group 1. And with the break, this allows us to win on turn 3. Now, if he wasn't broken, you wouldn't be able to kill him on turn 3. You'd have to break him and then kill him on turn 4. But doing it that way by swapping Physalis' target mid-cast allows you to get both of them broken and killed within 3 turns. And gives you all the missions. So, there you go. And that gives you all the missions. I already did it, so I can't show you the missions. But there it is. So I will see you guys for the next fight. Alright guys, next up we're going to be going to the battle that takes place after cutscene number 18. The missions here are bring the party it forces you to bring, use Sid's 64 mana jump skill, and then no deaths. So the no deaths one can be a little tricky because if you don't use the proper resist buffs, you're going to have deaths. Alright, so it's a three-wave battle. We're going to be fighting the, I forget what they're called, the Exo Stars or whatever from the story. But anyway, so this first guy uses fire attacks. So we're going to use Ignacio to buff fire resist. Sid is going to use his 64 MP jump, which breaks the boss's attack and defense. We don't need to do anything with Folka this turn. And we can just chain, or we're going to cover with C-Card. And we can just chain a little bit right there, doesn't really matter. And now he's going to do some fire attacks, which we're immune to because of the resist buff. Well, we're not immune, but we're resisting them. Alright, we'll go ahead and top the team off with Folka. Now we're going to chain Group 1 with Reagan, Group 1 with C-Card, and then we're going to cap it with the 64 MP skill, and we're going to cap it with Sid with his jump. So we're going to start chaining Reagan and C-Card, and then we're going to wait for it to drink, then we're going to cap with those two. So it didn't quite finish him off, but that's okay, we'll do it next turn. We've still got the third turn of the resist buff. We'll just go ahead and reload, and we'll just reload and finish him off. So let's chain these two, and then we'll cap with Ignacio. So there's that fight. Now we're going to go to the next fight. Now this one uses water attacks. So we're going to basically do the same setup. We're going to buff water resist with Folka this time, though. Alright, Sid is going to use his 64 MP jump that breaks the boss. we're going to use cover on C card. We'll just chain with Reagan and like partial cap with Ignacio. There's the cover. We've got resistance as well. Same thing now. We're going to chain these two. We're going to cap with Ignacio. And we're going to go ahead and chain this. Wait. And then drop Sid and cap with Ignacio. Finishes off him. And now the next one. So this is the one that gave me a little bit of trouble because I was trying to break with Sid. But you definitely need Sid's wind resist buff here. This guy does wind damage. So we're gonna buff resistance with Sid for this first turn. We're gonna cover with Sieg. We'll just do. We're gonna chain with Folka. Folka's gonna use her Group 1 chain to chain with Reagan, and we're gonna cap with Ignacio. So we're gonna chain these and then cap. Now the boss hasn't broken the defense yet with Sid, so that didn't do as much damage. But there we go. So he did some wind attacks and he did some status effects. We actually don't have dual cast on Folka, so we're just going to use these Suniga. We shouldn't need heals. Now we're going to use Sid to do his 64 MP jump. That's going to break the boss. And now we're going to chain Reagan and C card. And we're going to cap with Ignacio. So we're going to chain these, wait for the chain to build, and cap. And, oh, the boss didn't die. That should be okay, though. We've still got resistance buffs. Not a big deal. And, well, we'll just finish him off here with Sid. So it's fine. This mission didn't have any turn count missions. So there you go. So to recap, the first fight you want fire resist, the second fight you want water resist, the third fight you want wind resist, and then use Sid's 64 MP jump to break attack and defense. Chain with Reagan and Sieg, and cap with Ignacio. Alright, see you guys for the next fight. Alright guys, the next fight we're going to do is the one that takes place after cutscene number 19. The missions here are bring the party it gives you, no continues, but most importantly, no deaths. This one's actually one of the trickier fights I found after doing all this. Mostly because this team is pretty bad. So it's against the Emperor. So this team is kind of whatever. So Nicole, as you can see, has a cover ability. That's kind of a trap. If you use Nicole to cover, when the meteor happens, it'll kill him. So it's better to use Nicole to not cover at all. So for this first turn, we're going to buff stats with Nicole. We're going to use Sakura to give us a 100% thunder resist buff. And now we're going to use Saul and Hayo to chain. But as you'll notice here, they don't have compatible chain families. We're actually going to use the cooldown to unlock triple cast on Hayo. Yeah, so this is going to be kind of a janky clear, because no one in this party chains proper. It's super irritating. So here's some minor wind damage and some thunder damage, but we resisted it. We've got regeneration from Nicole's buff as well. So now we're going to do a resist buff with Nicole. We're going to use Sakura to do her cooldown to unlock quad or pentacast next turn. And now we're going to chain Saul, and we're going to use Hayo to do both his imperils, the 35 MP stuff, and then attack. So this like basically won't chain because these are the wrong families. It's just like super janky. But there you go. And there's the regeneration from Nicole. And then we had the thunder resist from Sakura, so that thunder damage did nothing. Let's go ahead and use Nicole to reapply the regeneration and stat buff. Now we're going to ×5 cast with Sakura, her finisher. Saul will just double chain again. And Hayo will triple chain. So again, this doesn't really chain. These are all bad families. We're going to start Sakura, so her stacking modifier goes up. And then we're going to send Hayo and Saul and try to somewhat pseudo-cap some of her later hits and the 5x cast. So there's 1, 2, 3. I'll start chaining. And hopefully some of the later ones like cap kind of, sort of. It's real janky, but this is the best we can do. Alright, we've still got resistance, so that doesn't really do much damage here. We're going to go ahead and refresh that, what's that buff called? The Thunder Resist buff. We're going to use Nicole to start refilling a little bit of mana for the team. We still got regeneration from last turn. And we'll use Saul to chain, and Hayo's triple cast wore off, so now we're just going to basic chain. The Imperils are still up, so we'll just use his good chain. And let's go ahead and, like, I'm calling it chaining, but this doesn't chain, like, at all. Yeah, that's, you know, the best you can do. Alright, so here's going to be some lightning. We've got resistance. Pretty minor. Let's do stats again with Nicole. That's also for regeneration. We're going to go ahead and chain once, and then use Saul to refill his mana. Sakura will just start tossing in single target caps, which again is not even really a cap. And just, you know, do the best you can. The damage is pretty bad. Alright, here's going to be a meteor. Now, because we're not covering, and we've got a resistance a stat buff from Nicole, this won't kill anyone. Yeah, as you see, it does pretty minor damage. Let's go ahead and get some mana regen going. We've still got regeneration to health from his last turn stuff. We'll do this. We could unlock triple cast, but honestly, Hayo doesn't even have the mana to triple cast anymore, so there's no point. So let's just do this and try to, like, somewhat sort of cap it. There we go. We sort of capped it. So the trick really is just not use cover with Nicole, because if he's covering that meteor, he's going to die. He can't take all the hits by himself. But if the meteor's spread out across the team, you're fine. Just keep Nicole's stat buff with regeneration active, keep Sakura's thunder resist buff active, and you can toss in Nicole's mana regen or his resist buff as needed. And that'll get you all the missions. No one died. Alright, see you for the next one again. Hey guys, next we're going to be going to the battle that takes place after cutscene number 20. This is going to be take the team, no continues, and finish with a limit burst. So this is a solo battle of Lastwell against Zeno. Overall, this battle is not too hard, but there is one thing that can catch you off guard that I'm going to point out in just a moment. So to start off, we're just going to use a regular chain to weaken the boss slightly on the first turn. And we'll do it again here, just, you know, whatever. Let's weaken the boss a little bit. Alright, now we get stopped. And the boss does some damage. Okay, so right here, we're going to use Lastwell to guard. This is going to be a powerful attack coming in. There we go. Because we were guarding, nothing really happened. Now, also, he's wearing some gear that fills his limit burst automatically for free. Some, like, auto-limit gear. But now his LB is filled, so we can go ahead and use his LB to finish off the fight. And because we chained 2 times in the beginning, it weakened him a little bit, and his LB does the rest. There's all missions. So the thing is, you know, we're going to chain twice. After the stop, you guard to survive that big attack, and then the turn after that, your LB should be ready. You can finish the fight. Pretty straightforward. And, alright, so I will see you for the next one. Alright guys, next up is the battle that takes place after cutscene 21. The missions are take the team it gives you, use Finger Snap, and finish with a limit burst. Or use a limit burst. I don't think you need to actually finish with it, but we're going to. Alright, so to start off, we're going to use Lastwell to dual cast. We're going to cast Finger Snap and then his fire attack. We'll just have Axstar just do some minor chaining. Rain is going to do both his cooldowns. That's going to give him the soul blood and stuff. Now we're going to use Physalis to break the boss. And Fianna can just do a Shining Shear, doesn't really matter. This fight's overall pretty simple. So we used Finger Snap already on the first turn. Now we're going to finish him off. Now we're going to do some just minor chaining with Lastwell, some chaining with these two, but the big damage is going to be Rain's LB. So we're going to go ahead and send Rain, and then do some chaining, and the chaining will help build Rain's modifier and get his last hit capped. There you go. Yeah, this one's super easy. Just remember to use Finger Snap with Lastwell before you apply those debuffs like the breaks, because you don't want to Finger Snap them away. Pretty simple. Alright, we'll see you for the next one. Alright guys, next up is the one that takes place after cutscene number 22. The missions are take the given team, finish with the limit burst, and do it within 6 turns. We shouldn't need 6 turns, but, you know, you never know. This one's one of those annoying teams that don't really work well together, but you do what you can. So Rain is going to use his power-ups. Faceless will go ahead and break the boss. Fina will do her Divine Veil buff. Dark Fina will start chaining a little bit of fire. And then Laswell will imbue fire and, like, kind of chain. These don't really chain, as you can see. So now with the boss's attacks, a little bit of earth damage, not really a problem. Alright. Lotus Fina will heal, and what would it heal twice? Whatever. Alright, Faceless will chain group 1. We're going to chain some fire with Dark Fina, and we're going to chain group 1 with Laswell. And then we're going to cap with Rain's LB. So Rain's going to go, we're going to chain these, and then we're going to send Fina. And that basically finishes them off. You know, pretty straightforward. Rain's Soul Blood is really overpowered for these fixed battle fights. Now we're going to go to the final fight. So I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright guys, the final fight is the one after cutscene number 23. The mission is bring the team, no deaths, and do it in 3 turns. So this one's a little tricky because the boss is quite a bit tankier, so Rain's LB won't just, you know, face roll it. And this team, like most of these teams, doesn't work so well together. So we're going to cover with Nicole, and we're going to Shining Shear with Fina. Reagan will chain with Laswell, and then Rain will do his power-ups. The problem here is Reagan is not dual-wielding, and he doesn't have W-cast. So, yeah, single-wielding Reagan, I don't know who geared this team, but he doesn't proper chain with Laswell, which is super irritating. Alright, so Nicole is wearing some resistance gear, thankfully, so he covers this no problem. Alright, now let's use, let's see here. Let's use Nicole to stat buff for us. We're going to chain group 1, and we're going to chain group 1, but we're not going to double cast it because stupid Reagan is not dual wielding. So we're going to send Rain, then we're going to send the chainers, and the chain should mostly take care of the way. It didn't quite do that good, but whatever. We got the boss close to being dead. So, there we go. He powers up, he buffs himself, but the boss is almost dead. So now we're going to use Rain to chain a little bit. We're going to chain, and we're going to chain. Yeah, so Rain is using a different family than the other two, which is annoying. We're going to start him, then we're going to try to like build the chain at the same time, and yeah. This fight's a little tricky to win on turn 3, it really is. Because the broken chains and just the really bulkiness of the boss, but there you go. So you want to kind of like sort of try to cap the last hit of Rain's Limit Burst if you can, to do the most damage, get the boss close to dead. If you perfect chain it, it might even kill the boss on turn 2, and then finish him off on turn 3. So there is the last of it, and doing all that will give you the 5k Lapis, the guaranteed STMR Moogle, etc., etc. Hope it's helped. See you later.